And welcome to episode number 3 of Jrock's Pop Culture Revolution. Now, so far in the recent episodes of this show, since we lost Jrock's Pop Culture Revolution, we talked a lot about some of my favorite classic TV shows. I thought for episode 3, it would be fun to talk about this classic movie right here. In case you can't see it, okay? That's the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I might note that the movie dates all the way back to 1939, okay? Now, that's the movie. And of course, the movie features the legendary character of Quasi Motto. And we're going to get all into some interesting fun facts about the history of the movie. Now, a lot of movies that Hollywood is famous for making movies based on off of books and stuff. Well, actually, this was one of the first movies that they made. It was actually based on a book. So let's get into it. The movie itself was released on January 6, 1939, and I might mention that, of course, movies that were made in 1939 were indeed black and white. So you gotta realize that when I sat down and watched this movie the other night to prep for this, the movie is very much in black and white. So it's a very different movie going experience because it is in black and white, and it is at the very beginning of when movies were just starting to be made. So the experience of making these movies was very different. And the film, like I said, was loosely based on Victor Hugo's, get this, novel from 1831, Notre Dame de Paris. And that, of course, was the name of the book. And obviously, anybody seen the movie or read the book, the story takes place in Paris, medieval Paris times to be exact. And the movie was released during what was considered the golden era of Hollywood. And we're going to get into what exactly that meant right now. The film came out in a time when Hollywood was dealing with the Great Depression. The aftermath, I should say, of the Great Depression. And it was in the 1930s when Hollywood was all about making big, epic films. And for a movie at the time, the Hunchback of Notre Dame was very much a big, epic production. And of course, it's very important to remember that the story is supposed to take place, in medieval times in Paris. And so the movies that they wanted to make to kind of entertain the people at the time, they wanted it to be big and over the top so people would really, enjoy the film. And so this was a time during the golden era of Hollywood where the people in Hollywood thought it would be, a great idea to start basing these movies that they were making off of literary books. And that's where that all started back in the late 1930s. And again, I guess it was just a easy way to kind of come up with an idea. Hey, this book I just read, this novel I just read, is it's a great story. It would make for a great movie. And of course, Hollywood is famous for doing that. They can still continue to make movies based on literary books. That's where a lot of the great movie ideas come from. Now, of course, anytime that you make a movie based off of a book, you take certain liberties with it. For example, I was surprised to learn that in the novel from the 1800s, the character of Esmeralda actually dies in the book. But because this is Hollywood and everybody wants to kind of have a happy ending, they make a movie where Esmeralda, is the love interest of the very kind of a sad character, I guess you could say, of Quasi Motto, but the Hunchback of Notre Dame. He gets teased and made fun of, and he throughout the movie, the townspeople were very cruel to him. He got whipped. He just suffered something pretty horrible. And along the way, he meets this Esmeralda, falls madly in love with her, and of course, all through the film, you're thinking, Quasimodo, he's got no chance of ever ending up with Esmeralda. But of course, like I said, um, because this is Hollywood, the movie doesn't exactly end the same way the book does. In the book, Esmeralda very much, from what I'm told, dies. But because this is a movie, they want a happy ending somewhat. And so a lot of times in Hollywood, stuff like that happens. Well, we don't want the character to die, maybe in the movie, because then if the movie's successful, we won't be able to make a part two if we kill off the main character. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Now, again, this picture is in black and white. Um, and another interesting thing is back in the 1930s when they were making movies like this, um, most of the movie credits come at the beginning of the film. A lot of times you go to a movie theater today and they got credits both a little bit maybe in the beginning, but they got massive credits at the end. And so that's kind of one of the main things that have changed about the way movies are made. Because you go to a movie theater today, and everybody just starts immediately leaving as the credits start to roll. Unless maybe your name's up there in the credits, you want to find your name or somebody, family member who works in the movie industry. Otherwise, everybody pretty much, as the end credits now roll, okay, it's time to leave the movies. We go out to the car, go to the bathroom. Time to go home. So that's pretty much that. And again, the story of the Hunchback of Notre Dame is supposed to take place in Paris, but interestingly enough, the whole entire film, and I know this was done for the sole reason of saving money, not having to spend a lot of money on the production. They shot the entire film at MGM Studios in Culver City, California. Can you believe that? It looked a lot like, if you didn't know, you'd think you were in Paris, maybe, but that was all movie backlot in Culver City, MGM Studios, and it's just amazing. And back then, a lot of the movie studios were kind of struggling, or they were just getting off the ground, so they didn't have a lot of money to work with. So they made these big epic films, hoping to get people to the movie theaters, and if the movie was a hit, hopefully they get all the money back that they put into it. But that was one way of saving money is, hey, you know what, we got a film studio here in California where we're shooting. Why spend a ton of money going to Paris just because it's supposed to be based in Paris? So that's another interesting thing about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And of course, now the movie stars Charles Laughton as the title role of Quasi Motto, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and he's a bell ringer at the Notre Dame Cathedral. He's shunned by most of the townspeople, like I said, and I got to tell people, you got to prepare yourself because again, this is a movie that dates back to 1939 when the movie originally came out, and I don't know how people sat through and watched some of these scenes. I mean, I was able to watch the scenes, but there were a couple scenes where I had to kind of turn my head because all through the film, this Quasi Motto character, I mean, you partly feel sorry for the guy because I mean, not that we're supposed to judge anybody based on how they look, but he isn't that he isn't that attractive. He's not the best looking guy. He's and so because of that, he's picked on and just tortured by the townspeople. Everybody, and then the parts where I'm talking about where you might have to kind of turn your head is because it was so realistic. I mean, this was great movie making in the sense that I know this guy wasn't really being whipped, but man, it looked like it. You felt for the guy, and you're like watching these scenes, and I know I was thinking, how can they be so cruel to this guy? And then the people that were whipping him, it seemed like they were just having the time of their life, torturing this poor soul, this poor individual Quasimodo. You couldn't help but kind of have a feeling like, thank God it's him and not B. But um, that's what I was kind of thinking. And then there were a few people kind of like feeling bad, wanting to help him, but nobody really did. And he was just kind of for several minutes just made to sit there and get whipped and just kind of take it. At one point, they even take his shirt off so he can really kind of suffer a lot more. They just whipping him brutally. And again, it's just a movie, but it was very convincing. Um, there were a few times watching the movie, I almost kind of had a tear in my eye because I don't know how. Again, it's just a movie, but I don't know how not one person in the towns in the township, by the castle when he's being whipped, even tried to save him, tried to help him, and then Esmeralda comes along and and he kind of falls madly in love with her. But again, it's kind of something he knows that he'll never be able to um, have. And by the end of the film, a couple people come along the way. They try to, they kind of feel for Quasimodo, but Quasimodo by the end of the movie he doesn't really have much of a happy life, and he's just pretty much one of those people that was, they were, tortured and made to suffer. But that's kind of what I got out of the film. I mean, again, it's just a movie, but people, you see, first of all, how cruel some people can be, and you maybe realize why it's not a good idea to ever be that cruel to somebody, because you ever hurt somebody like that, you got to live with it, and then also nobody. I mean, nobody really deserves to be tortured like that. And then to see other people not only torturing the guy, but it looked like they were taking some great pleasure out of it, having the time of their life. But again, it's just a movie, but very convincing movie. Okay, let me see. Um, yeah, and again, a lot of the torture is brought on because people just are plain mean, and it had a lot to do with his unflattering appearance. Quasimodo, of course, in regards to Esmeralda, befriends a kind-hearted Roman woman named Esmeralda, who is accused of several crimes herself. Um, this movie, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo and Esmeralda, this was actually probably one of the very first films that you could say was kind of had that Beauty and the Beast mentality. Obviously Esmeralda was a beautiful Roman young Roman woman. She was graced with a beauty that Quasimodo was not graced with. Like I said, his appearance was very unflattering, and he got tortured and made fun of because of that. Now, at the same time, Esmeralda, who is very beautiful, and she she was just gorgeous, and everybody pretty much wanted to be with her. She's the complete opposite of Quasimodo. Again, kind of makes you wonder why there wasn't more of a why by the end of the movie they don't get them together. But that's kind of what he kind of his desire, what he was wanting. She was kind of the one kind of thing that he enjoyed in life, or getting to look at her, getting to be around her. He just every time he thought of her, like it was mad, passionate love. He had true feelings of love, and then probably Quasimodo himself knew deep down that, hey, no way in hell that I can ever have a woman that beautiful. But he was given the opportunity to at least dream about it. In spite of all the torture and suffering that he went through, and in spite of her beauty, Esmeralda herself was accused of many. There were many accusations thrown at her, many of committing many crimes that she was indeed not guilty of. But people just started spreading rumors about her. People started making stuff up about her, and in spite of her beauty, she was somewhat of a tortured soul too, because she went through life being accused of these things that she knew she was not guilty of. I mean, just think about that. I mean, on one hand, she was very much a beautiful woman, very much maybe every man's dream. You look at a woman like this and you just fall madly in love with her. Quasi Motto is a great example of that. I mean, he more than anybody like is just madly in love with Esmeralda, but yet he knows deep down that he can never have her. But her, he's probably like thinking a lot like the townspeople who were making fun and torturing him. Hey man, there's no way an ugly thing like you is ever going to end up with that woman. So you just get that dream out of your mind. But again, this is one of the first films where he had kind of that Beauty and the Beast backdrop in the film. I mean, you'd see it in other great classic films such as with King Kong and Fay Ray. I mean, and then even years later, like in the late '80s, early '90s, they had a Beauty and the Beast TV show where this beautiful woman falls in love with this kind of ugly beast-like creature, and everybody's like, "Oh, what are they doing together?" But again, Beauty and the Beast type of movies are something that people came to really love throughout the years, and even to this day they're making those same type of movies. But this is probably one of the very first times, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, dating all the way back to 1939 when people first saw such storylines in movies. So I just was kind of thinking that was just kind of very interesting to realize that they've been making movies like this ever since the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Actress Marie O'Hara, who played Esmeralda, would go on to become a huge leading lady in Hollywood. And again, it was from appearing in this film that she would go on to appear in many, many other successful films, and she ended up being a very successful actress because of appearing in this film. Charles Laughton's portrayal of Quasimodo was really quite legendary because of the fact that he had to wear heavy makeup and prosthetics that affected his posture. Very much, you hear some similar type of stories in regards to Fred Gwynne in the 1960s doing the TV show The Monsters, where he got made up like a Frankenstein monster. He had these heavy prosthetics and makeup that he had to wear, and it affected him so much. I'm talking about Fred Gwynne now. When he was filming The Monsters, that he had awful back pain, and he had to sit down, and it just affected his health, and he had awful back pain because of it. But Quasimodo, as far as Charles Laughton getting dressed up as Quasimodo, he wore this heavy makeup. I mean, from what I was able to read up on this, it would take him like anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to get in the makeup. Then he'd have to keep the makeup on for like maybe 7 or 8 hours a day to film his scenes until the movie was finished being filmed. And then the clothes and everything that he had to wear to present himself as Quasimodo was very heavy and affected the way he walked. So again, some of these early classic movies, something like this that dates back to 1939, they were just learning how to make movies at the time. And so, I've also read up on like when they were filming The Wizard of Oz, the actor who played the Tin Man, he got an infection in his eye because of the paint they had to use to make him look like the Tin Man. They never used chemicals like that before in movie making. They were kind of learning as they were going. But as a result of this, when they're filming The Wizard of Oz, he got got an infection in his eye, and the infection went away, but he had to take like I think a week off. I was reading until his eyes fully recovered. So again, this is very in the very beginning stages of when people were learning how to make movies. So again, you watch somebody get dressed up as Quasimodo, in this case Charles Laughlin, and he very much looks the part. So when we're watching the movie, we're very much convinced that okay, he dressed for the part. He really looks like Quasimodo is supposed to look. We're convinced that he's that character because he looks that good. But people back then, I don't think realized that it took him 2 to 3 hours just to put the makeup on. You had to keep it on and film all your scenes. So the labor that went into making these classic movies is just amazing when you learn about some of this stuff. You know what I mean? And so, um, that's something that when we're watching these movies, we need to really consider. And of course, there's the iconic um, bell scene in the movie where Quasimodo, um, he rings a bell several times, and it's huge, it's loud. It's one of the scenes in the movie. For anybody who's seen the movie, always talks about. It's probably the most talked about scene. One of them, and anyways, probably. And then next to the iconic bell scene, he gets up there and he's ringing the bell like this, and it's going back and forth, and you hear it and everything. Probably, I think next to the iconic scene would be the scenes where the townspeople are whipping him, and they seem like they're having just the time of their life, and you feel so sorry for Quasimodo, but these are all things to kind of consider. And then MGM Studios spent no expense when it came to the film's lavish set designs with uh, with having to kind of make it look like it was filmed in Paris when it was actually on a backlot in MGM Studios in Culver City. And the detail they went into recreating like the Notre Dame Cathedral. Again, it's not the actual cathedral that we're seeing in the movie. It very much looks very much lifelike, but it is just kind of a movie set that they created to look like the cathedral. Can you imagine that? But that's how real the set looked. You're almost convinced like you're at the actual cathedral, just a built movie set on a backlot. Amazing, amazing what they can do. As is often the case in Hollywood, like I said, Hollywood took certain liberties in making the film. They didn't want to end it exactly like the book with Esmeralda dying because people would be sad. They leave the theater crying. They want people to have a good time. And again, this is not a film that you're going to have a good time in as far as laughing it up and be just a hilarious comedy. That's not what this is. I think if anything, it's a film where, yeah, it very much does have that Beauty and the Beast mentality, but also, folks, it's got this character Quasimodo, but you can tell that he's probably not had too happy of a life, and even what we've seen in the movie, he's been kind of made to suffer and torture something horrible, being whipped. Not to, I can't say he was whipped to death, but he just people made fun of him and stuff because of the way he looked, and they thought he was an outcast, and they just wanted to pick on him. And so it's probably one of also first movies where you have a character that suffers like that throughout the movie, and that the audience is kind of probably just kind of hoping that things are going to get better for him. You want to be his cheerleader. You want to hope like him, but him and Esmeralda are going to get together, even though they don't end up really getting together. But that was my takeaway from this movie. And again, it's not exactly a comedy, but I did get it on Blu-ray here, so you can get it on Amazon if you want. Another interesting note here on the Blu-ray, which I was very excited to get. When I got the Blu-ray, for some reason I tried to play the bonus features, which for whatever reason, it said it could not play the bonus feature. So I don't know if that was just my copy, but again, if you want to get a copy of this um, for your collection, you can do so by getting it at Amazon.com. Now, I hope you guys all enjoyed the latest episode of Jrock's Pop Culture Revolution. When we get together for episode number 4, I think what we're going to talk about is I'd like to talk about the recent release of Foghat's classic 1975 album that turns 50 years old this year. They just put out um, a great 50th anniversary edition. The first disc is pretty much kind of just a reissue of the original debut album, but disc 2 is a special live concert that they also added like as a bonus disc. So we're going to get all into that next time. Stay tuned. And when you tune into Jrock's Pop Culture Revolution, just know that we could be talking about anything from favorite classic movie to a favorite album by a favorite band, favorite movie like we did today, not necessarily favorite movie, but a movie in this case like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, very much a classic film from 1939. But I had seen this film years ago, but it's been years, so I went out and I bought the Blu-ray so I could watch it and prep for this. And I'm glad I did because again, it gives me a new appreciation for the way movies were made back in 1939, the way movies are made today. So it gave me even more of an appreciation for the film and how realistic it was. So do I urge you to go out and check out the original Hunchback of Notre Dame film? If you like classic movies, but just remember this isn't a comedy film that you're going to laugh through. The main character is like really kind of made to suffer. Like I said, that's the main point. But if you can sit through somebody being whipped and it looks pretty convincing, then this might be the movie for you. Because again, in addition to all that, there's also the fact that you feel for this tortured character. You want to cheer him on. You want to hope that he will maybe one day have a better life. Movie doesn't exactly end that way, but just keep all that in mind. Take care, my friends, and see you again real soon. Take care. Bye for now.